Hey everybody, Tracy Brown here. I'm in hot mom mode, meaning, yeah, not hot mom, but literally it's hot, so hot. I'm sitting in car line and I go back and forth with my air conditioning because it's just so hot. I don't want to break my old little car. So anyway, it's not really old, but it doesn't like the heat that much. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about, I don't know if it's a topic per se, but just something that I know seemed to really help me a lot when I first started working with clients, is figuring out, like, where am I going with this person? And of course, supervision is what taught me how to, like, see the big picture, get all the clues, put them in my head if we weren't ready to use them right now, but just keep going forward. So I gave some examples. So for example, client A is struggling with hunger work. This is a client who came to feel less compulsive about her eating, meaning she kind of knew when she was either overeating, emotional eating, or kind of graze eating, but she really struggled with gentle, normal hunger. She would eat when she was like raging hungry, gonna pass out, hangry, but finding 3 and 4 was really difficult. So that's client A. We're gonna come back to her. Client B is a person I've had many times, and they come to you because they're really suffering and their eating is out of control. It doesn't matter, restricting, binging, purging, laxatives, whatever they're doing, but yet they come and they like to talk a lot, and not just talk a lot, but really sometimes complain, sometimes tell stories, and most of the time tell you a lot about what's not going right, maybe who's not doing what they want them to do. It doesn't always be negative. It can just be a lot of talking, and they're not really doing any work. Like, they'll say they want to eat more food, be more mindful, go buy groceries, whatever it is, because they're seeing that not doing those things is adding to the suffering, but they're just not doing it. They're just not doing it. And so we're going to talk about that, what those dynamics mean. So let's go back to client A, who's struggling with with hunger work. What you want to try to figure out is, again, from their history, what their early relationship with being nourished was, their relationship with getting their needs met, their relationship with having needs, and what they felt like that meant about them. Because you're going to get clues, like how they do their work day, maybe they'll tell you in stories of, like, you know, how they tend to, like, interact with their friends, their spouses, their family, and where there's boundary lapses, where they push themselves off, whatever. And you'll start to gather clues, because sometimes they can't tell you why. I can't find 3, and we'll talk about what that feels like, and they just still keep bypassing it. What you're wanting to look at is basically, do they feel like they deserve to eat unless they're starving? That's usually the bottom line. And you're going to get that in a couple clues like I just talked about, or in a clue if they don't really like to talk to you about their food very much, and it's really difficult to pin them down. They're happy to talk about their body image stuff, their exercise, other forms of pleasure they're willing to have, but when it's around food, they may just feel like they don't deserve to eat. And the only time they will eat is when they're, again, about to pass out. They have to, that kind of thing. So, again, you are collecting clues. If they don't know at the beginning why that's so hard, eventually you're going to know. And that's where you're going to go, is trying to bring them gently back to, you know, what's it like to get a need met, and how do you feel about that. And they might kind of know what their history is, but not have it fully connected to, oh, I can't find 3 and 4 because I wasn't allowed to eat when I was gently hungry, or I wasn't allowed to eat. Yeah, I wasn't really allowed to eat unless I was really hungry. I was always dieting, kind of thing. Okay, client B, kind of a person who doesn't want to do much work, to be perfectly honest. They kind of want to be rescued, possibly, and they're hesitant because maybe things are painful. They don't have a lot of resilience to emotion. There's some kind of dynamic, and you're going to know that right off the bat within the first couple sessions. So what do you do with that client? I try to get back to something we were talking about earlier in the group. I try to get back to, I know that's really, really hard with your food, that you don't feel like you have enough access to things, and I know that everything else you're telling me is super important. I'm just kind of curious what we want to do with this food thing, or it could be, you know, I'm really noticing that you're kind of saying that you want to do XYZ homework, whether it's a food journal or go out and find me a person that looks like you so you can confirm whether or not it's true that nobody looks like you and nobody else could live a life and be happy. And I'm kind of noticing that you haven't done that yet, so I'm kind of curious, is that something that's still really important to you, or is that something you actually want to work on? And again, being hedgy and really kind, but just being really curious, because the truth is they're not really wanting to do the work. And a client I had one time, she really was pretty hesitant to do food journals, to feed herself. She didn't want to deal with it. I think she was doing it. Like, she would kind of rattle off some of her food real quick, so I knew she was eating, but she didn't want to go into depth or detail. So we started to be curious, like, I wonder how that gets going on. What would that be a sign of? So I had her just do some research on, like, the Myers-Briggs stuff, like personality things. Had her go out and there were some things that she was interested in, like poetry. So I had her basically go get me a poem from her favorite poet and write it down and bring it into me the next week. Just anything to get them engaged in the process. So it doesn't have to be food related, but it's getting them back around to the process of, like, here's something that's part of your life, and let's sit down and unpack and talk about what was good for you about that. And I wonder if any of this feels like it relates to anything to do with your food, your weight, how you see yourself. How come you love this poem? How does it speak to you? How do you know? How do you know that it speaks to you, and where do you know that at in your body? Anything you can do to get more engagement. That's what we're trying to do with clients that, like, where am I going? What are we doing here? Are they making progress? These are just 2 examples. I just want to give you a couple of samples, but this can happen in so many different permutations because our people are just like us. They're people, and we all have our things. So, hope we can do more of these little examples as time goes by. So I hope this is helpful to you all. Thank you so much, and talk to you soon.